How many times have you heard, "But you don't look sick," or "Aren't you better yet?" Although people may doubt you or not understand you, your pain is real. Welcome to Fibro Pulse, I'm Linda. So for our Living with Fibromyalgia video this month, we're talking about the legitimacy of the pain you're feeling, how to convey this to others, and how to come to terms with it yourself. We'll discuss how this plays out in the general culture, among medical professionals, with friends and family, and personally. Generally speaking, most people still don't know what fibromyalgia is or understand what it's like to have an invisible chronic condition. So they may have heard the word before, especially now with commercials on TV talking about fibromyalgia and prescriptions that are approved to treat it. When I was first diagnosed, there were no prescriptions, so the awareness was a lot lower. It's a bit of a double-edged sword because now with pharmaceuticals having medications for fibromyalgia, there's more awareness overall. On the other hand, some people are skeptical of big pharma making up things in order to sell more pills. Maybe people are being diagnosed just so that they can do so. Prior to Lyrica's approval and the subsequent commercials about it, there was a lot less awareness for people. If I said fibromyalgia, most people didn't know what I was talking about. Now people will be like, oh, that commercial I've seen on TV, yep, that's it. So it's a big difference, which I think overall has had a positive impact for me and on the community. Another major surge in awareness for fibromyalgia happened in 2017 when Lady Gaga released a documentary talking about her struggles with chronic pain. Afterwards, she came out and said that she'd been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, though she doesn't explicitly say that in the documentary. Having such a major celebrity come forward and not only say that she has the condition, but document it and show her pain has added a lot of awareness and legitimacy in the public eye for our condition. Interacting with healthcare providers can be very daunting for people with fibromyalgia. The common understanding within society is that if you have some type of health issue, pain, or illness, you go to a doctor and they'll tell you something specific that's wrong with you that then they have a solution for. The problem with fibromyalgia is that you're feeling pain, but they don't have any one specific thing that they can point to as the source of that pain, or often something that they can give to you to alleviate that pain. So they use the tools at their disposal, blood tests or scans, to try to figure out what's wrong with you. And when they can't figure out the source of your pain, that's often the point where you're diagnosed with fibromyalgia. That can feel very unsatisfying or invalidating because they're essentially saying they don't know. Since the source of fibromyalgia is not yet known, it is still somewhat a diagnosis of elimination. They call it a syndrome because it's a constellation of symptoms that they don't have a specific origin they can point back to as the source of the condition. Whereas other diseases, they can say, oh, this caused this, and we can treat it like this. So because of that, a lot of practitioners still don't believe that fibromyalgia is a real thing. They may say to you, oh yeah, that's just a trash can diagnosis, something we say when we can't figure out what's wrong with you. Now, they're saying that because it's their scientific understanding. It can feel like they're not validating the pain that you're feeling, almost saying that because they can't understand where it comes from, then somehow your pain is not real. It can be difficult for friends and family to understand that you're in pain all the time. For example, I saw a post on Reddit recently where a girl was talking about she was sitting with her boyfriend and then he said, oh, are you all right? And she said, well, I'm in pain. And he asked, is it fibro pain or is it real pain? Now, the discussion that followed was people basically saying, that he was well-intentioned in what he said, that he meant, is this like you're normal for pain or is there something particularly wrong? But of course she was upset because it sounded like he was discounting her fibro pain as either imaginary or not as bad as she makes it out to be. But that can be difficult to distinguish for people with fibro. It can be difficult for friends and family to understand because you're always in pain. Communicating about pain when you have fibromyalgia can be really difficult because you either run the risk of being, a downer, constantly talking about your pain and maybe even seemingly crying wolf, saying you're in pain all the time so that when it is worse, it can be hard for people to understand what degree you're feeling the pain. On the other hand, you might err towards not saying anything at all because you don't want to burden people and you're going to be in pain either way, so why bother someone else? But then you're carrying that additional burden yourself. And I found that sometimes that can overwhelm you, and then people are shocked or surprised and don't understand what's wrong because they didn't know you were in pain in the first place. One of the reasons why people might feel hesitant to talk about their fibromyalgia pain is that other people can't see it on them. So to them, they're, oh, you look like the same person you were before. And why don't you just snap out of it? Like, come on, you can get through this. Not understanding what you're experiencing. This can be particularly difficult the younger you are because it's assumed that young people have lots of energy and stamina and should be able to do certain things. So when you're feeling like an 84-year-old person inside, but you look 15 on the outside, people are going to treat you that way and not understand that you have these particular limitations. Also, in romantic relationships, your partner knows that you have fibromyalgia, but they might forget from time to time. For you, you have a constant reminder because you're the one who's experiencing the pain. For example, they might see you fine and functioning one moment and then laying down and in a lot of pain the next. So it requires a lot of communication on your part for them to be able to understand the fluctuations in your condition. Then there's the internal dialogue. So all that we've talked about already begins to weigh on your psyche and you start doubting yourself. Is my pain real? How bad is it really? Am I just being overdramatic? If you were diagnosed early in life like I was, you might not remember what it felt like before having fibromyalgia or knowing what a normal baseline for pain feels like to another person. It can be very hard to know how what you're experiencing is different from what people without fibromyalgia are experiencing. It's easy to start doubting yourself and wondering if, well, am I over-exaggerating? Am I making this greater than it is? And that really erodes your confidence. So to reiterate, your pain is real. Your feelings of insecurity are real. Your feelings of invalidation are real. Being dismissed by doctors is real. And being misunderstood by your loved ones is real too. Part of why I wanted to make these videos is because I still have difficulty talking about it. I've been very hesitant to tell people in my life or doctors about my condition because of how it's perceived. I want to get stronger in talking about this too because it's something I've silently struggled with for so long. So what if people said to you that's made you feel that your pain isn't real? Have you found any good ways to respond that might help others in those situations? Do you feel insecure bringing up your fibromyalgia in general? Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe, like, and share. Follow us on social media, and then come join the community at fibropulse.com.